So right away I ran down to the bar where I'd met her. Evidently she told the bartender, and I walked in. I said, listen, yes, I forget her name. I said, so is Marie here? The guy said, we can't serve you.
I think one of the reasons Bukowski wandered around the country was very simply a young man's need to see his country. And I think the other reason was he wanted to delve into life. He needed experience. And so he bought a ticket on Trailways, and he went all the way to Florida, as far as he could go. Now, he said to get as far away from my father as possible. Probably that's true. Then he headed back through New Orleans, and he was in El Paso. All through the 40s, he lived in one rooming house or one little cold water hotel room after another, looking for that golden sentence, you know, wanting to write that story that would put him up there in the charts.
I would get a common laborer's job somewhere for a week or two, then live in a cheap room and type. I used to live on one candy bar a day. Cost a nickel. I always remember the candy bar was called Payday. That was my payday, 5 cents. And that candy bar tasted so good. I'd have it at night. I'd take one bite, and it was so beautiful. I wrote 4 or 5 short stories a week during this time, and I had them out everywhere. They came bouncing back.
He was looking for his art, and he got rejections. And basically what he was getting, you're not good enough. Not you're not good. You're not good enough. And he heard it, and he understood it. Now, at that point, you can make a choice. Oh, well, to hell with it. Throw it out. I'm going to go get a profession, do something. Bukowski never did that.
I was laying in bed one night, and I said, I'll just quit. To hell with it. And another voice in me said, don't quit. Save a tiny little ember, a spark, and never give them that spark, because as long as you have that spark, you can start the greatest fire again. I was working at a ladies' dress shop, and they made me work 2 hours overtime. I still kept the spark. I said, I will not quit. I will not let them kill me. So I'm walking out, and 2 guys in the office smoking cigars. Hey, Bukowski, come here a minute. They were laughing at me, and I knew they were laughing at me because I was just a slave, and I'm standing there. So I went home. It was a very long walk, and I remember the trees were frozen. It was in winter. It was in St. Louis, and the landlady had put these letters under my door. And I opened the one, and it said, we've accepted your short story. I said, oh. The fire I saved has a chance. But the funniest thing is they took a bad story.
The young writer growing up in the 30s and 40s wanted to be in Harper's, Atlantic Monthly. That's where Hemingway and Saroyan, that's where the heroes published.
I don't think it was quite the market for it. The main magazines during the 40s were pretty much published by Eastern intellectuals. John Steinbeck had a hard time getting recognized. Western writers just were not very much appreciated and recognized as they are today.
Let me tell you the story of the first time I read Bukowski. It was really, really one of those just happenstance things. I was about 25 at the time. I was in the bookstore with this girl that I really, really wanted to fuck, but she was just my friend. And I told the book clerk, he asked me if he could help me. And I said, yeah, there's this guy I've been reading about. There's people have been telling me about this guy named Bukowski. You know anything about this guy? And the book clerk guy, Bukowski? Jeez, that's my favorite. Come here, to the back room. Takes me to the back room, where he keeps all of his Bukowski stash. And he goes up to the top shelf, and he pulls down some books, and he hands me this book. He goes, yeah, this is Bukowski's latest. And he hands me this book. He hands me more all the time. He says, this is his latest one. It's great. You know, if you don't know the man, you should know the man. So I picked up the book and opened it, and it just fell to this page, right here, page 100. And the first poem I read was called Oh Yes. There are worse things than being alone, but it often takes decades to realize this. And most often when you do, it's too late. And there's nothing worse than too late. So I just closed the book, handed it back to him, but I never forgot that poem. There are worse things than being alone. And like I said, the reason I mentioned the girl that I was with, because I sort of looked at her in a different light after that. I looked at her and like, you know, there are worse things than being alone. And I don't want to wait until it's too late. You know, so go away. Go away. Let me just worry about other things besides you. So that was my first introduction to Bukowski.
I was 24, 25, and she was around 35, and she just accepted me. I don't understand it, but she was a real fine-looking woman with body and good sense, a little bit mad.
This is Jane. This is from her high school yearbook. There are many love poems, early love poems to Jane. It was the first woman he ever really had a relationship with. She was 10 years older than he was. She was born in 1910 and he was born in 1920.
He seemed to be all alone, except for this woman he lived with that he would refer to sometimes in a derogatory way, the way men refer to women. I saw her once, and it fit his description of her, which was she had a fat ass and was good to lean up against in the wintertime.
She had beautiful legs, wore high heels, knew how to cross her legs with the skirt just so, kicking the heel like this and talking all kinds of shit, you know.
If you like them big, you know, she did not have the good looks of sophistication or a classy woman.
With beautiful legs, you always figure, even though you've only been there once or twice, there might be something else up there besides a cunt, you know? There might be something really marvelous this time. It could be a cunt, but it could be... There's something about looking at the legs makes you dream. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a cunt, but I'm saying you always imagine some extra magic when you're looking at the outside portion of the female.
She would just take off for a month and leave him, and then come back only because she'd exhausted all those opportunities out there or was sick and tired of what was going there and would come back to him. He was kind of like a home base only. They didn't have a really domestic life together.
It was a continuous going into bars, getting into trouble, getting kicked out of rooms. It was a tension that just...
To find your lady already drunk, dirty dishes in the sink, the dog unfed, the flowers unwatered, the bed unmade, the ashtrays full of punched-out, lipstick-smeared cigarettes.
Those days were so wild, man. We were always drunk, getting kicked out. It was like being in a war. It never relented.
Ah, you asshole, what are you doing in there, playing with yourself? You goddamn whore, what do you know about anything? Sitting there on your dead ass and sucking at the vino.
But there was a liveliness there because we both didn't care for shit, you know.
Don't hit me, don't hit me. You'd hit me, but you wouldn't hit a man. Hell no, I wouldn't hit a man. You think I'm crazy? Hey, where the hell are you going? I'm going to the fucking bar. Not without me, Buster.
So I thought I really had something. I did. I had lots of trouble.